Okay, I would like to call to order the Village of Lansing Planning Board meeting for Tuesday, May 26, 2026. Order at 7 p.m. See, Lisa's not here. Sorry. The first item on the agenda is the approval of minutes for May 11th, 2026.
No minutes available.
There you go.
Shame.
No minutes available.
I know. I didn't have a high in my priority.
I know, you're busy, I know.
Next item on the agenda is the public comment period. This is an opportunity for anyone, either in person or online from the public, to bring up anything that is not already on the agenda for this evening.
Susan Ainsley, covering for the Board of Trustees. Hello, everyone.
Hi, Susan.
Carla Marceau, I'm serving for the community board.
And hey, Carmen. Hearing no other comments, I'll entertain a motion to close the public comment period.
Motion to close.
Motion by Lorraine, second by Kevin, all in favor. Okay, next item on the agenda is the public hearing for special permit number 2026-4949. The YMCA of Ithaca is seeking to build an addition totaling 5,394 square feet to house a new lap pool. This will also require the construction of an additional 20 parking spaces. Project is located at 50 Graham Road West, tax parcel number 47.1-1-17.9. Hold on, right? So weird. Hasn't it's been a while. I'll entertain a motion to open the public hearing. Motion by Soledad.
Yeah.
Oh, second by Lorraine, all in favor. Mike.
For the record, I have the public hearing mailings George sent out, so that I sent you folks, you have the short EAF part 1, 2, and 3 on the resolution. Also in your packet, you have some other items that George has been nice enough to provide to us, a existing parking lot site plan and a proposed parking lot site plan, along with a little bit of detail on how the lap pool is being built. Now, the specifics aren't really much that you have to worry about talk much about. Because it's a special permit, it is you will have to cover sidewalk law and our tree law. I sent you an overview. This photo here, so you can see where the sidewalks were existing on property. And then George and the trustee tape measure has gone out and provided how many units are on the property. The chart is actually on one of the site plans, but I blew it up so you can see it. One tab here. George has come up with 86 total units. And then you can see the lot size and the standard deductions we have in the village code. The actual tree lot acreage is 3.27. Make them require 98 units, so the 12 short units. That about covers it. Whatever George would like to present.
I'm here tonight, along with me is Christy Thornton, who's the executive director of the FNY. Kevin Madison and Tom Lowe, both from TJ Madison, who are the contractors that are gonna be doing the work. Tom will be the project manager. So if you look, we met last week and talked about parking. So the existing, just to show you real quick, I can't read it, but I put the caliper of all the trees that are on the existing, which forms the basis of that chart. So what this does, basically come off the front of the pool, the east side of the pool, the new building, roughly round numbers 5,400 square feet. We're gonna extend this area that's here, this parking lot, that'll get dug up and then redone. We need to extend the main parking lot roughly 8 feet east in order to get the spaces. And then we're going to extend the north parking lot west, getting the additional spaces. This site comes up with 215. Your question about the spaces along the side here,
Yeah,
yeah, they're about 8.5 feet. It's not 9 feet. You can get a car.
they do look smaller though, don't
But
they?
it is
Yeah,
a little
yeah.
small, I measured it, but what we're showing is everything is at 9 foot, okay? So. There's a bunch of things that will happen in addition to the building. When this gets dug out, we need to relocate the gas and the electric. Gas will probably come down and the gas meter will get relocated to this corner. The electric, we have to come out of the pole box transformer. Waiting for Dyside to actually meet and tell us, but we'll reroute. Right now, it goes down like this along the front of the building, it'll come out and around the building. And go back to where the transformer is now. So that's the utility upgrades. Stormwater, we're gonna add 3 catch basins to pick up water. One will be here, and it will run down to the catch basin that's currently here, which is a 24-inch pipe that takes you down to retention pond. The existing line that comes under the building is down about 8 feet according to the inverse. I asked the surveyor, he actually shot them in the field, so they're not off somebody's drawing. So we think that this line, we don't have to deal with it, will be under where we're building. And then we'll add another catch basin up here, that'll grab this and come back to the existing catch basin, which then pipes around, so we don't have to tear around the building to get stormwater out. Electric, we'll need to add a pole or add a light here to light this new parking area. And depending on resources, we may redo all the lamps to LEDs because it would save them on power. But that's to be determined. The tree count, when I went through, we needed 12 trees. And I see that all new trees, doesn't matter how big they are, they count as 1. So we need 12 trees. So what we're suggesting is the screen along the west property line, it will be both a windbreak and a site buffer to, is that BJ's?
Mhm.
One thing we know is it's wet, so we were talking about something like a hemlock tree or something like that, that would go in, provide a screen. Then the other thing we're talking about doing is there's a peninsula that comes out that separates parking. And we talked about, Christie likes the idea of putting a flowering crab that'd be in this corner. There's some flowering trees across the front, be another one. So we're actually gonna put in 13 trees. I don't know, we went through a lot last time, so we'll go through particulars or ask questions. Christie can tell you a little bit about programs that we're talking about. The other thing, there's one other thing. They're going for some other grants. We don't know if they're gonna get them. Depending on what happens with that grant, we may rearrange parking along here. It wouldn't change the number of spaces, just change. And if we had to come back just to show you what the new one would be, we'd do that.
But it isn't, just, can I interrupt for a second? Christy, isn't that one grant for the childcare center?
Yeah, we should hear sometime within the next 15 to 30 days. But again, you know, we can't even guess if we're getting
I
that.
know, I talked to Gunnar the other day, because that would mean actually extending the building. George, can you show where it would extend? It would be right there, right?
Yeah, I'll perfect.
Outdoor play.
It's fence, this is probably extended.
And so when that trigger, because it'd be another special permit, right? Wouldn't it trigger everything?
I have to see exactly what happens,
Oh, okay.
but exactly what they're doing.
You only can ride bicycles, don't cars. But
Yeah, we would need another special permit. But when we do that, but at that time, we'd like to rearrange the parking.
Yeah.
Because there's gonna be kids getting out.
Yeah.
In that area, and we wouldn't wanna do it in the same fashion, and I
Right.
don't know before we do the paper parking lot, actually what we're doing. So we just like to be able to adjust the lot when that happens.
Have you thought about parking lot trees at all? I mean, I know it's already cramped with the parking, but,
the problem is, if we start putting trees within the parking lot, they'll only extend the asphalt
oh,
even more.
Yeah, we're looking to minimize that because of the space confinement we have on the site.
Well, the other thing that Tom told me is they're looking for a walk or a running trail that would come around here and come on up. So
Yeah.
we're trying to really minimize how much coverage we have on blacktop.
How much of an addition is that gonna be, Tom, that they add on to the childcare?
That is, not, it's less than 1,000 feet. or-
Less than 1,000?
Yeah. It's not much of an addition at all. It's more of a restructuring inside of that area.
I see Brent is on. Brent, as I said, we're adding three catch basins, but they're basically gonna pipe back into existing. So that we don't retrench to the,
Right. Yeah, I think that's probably gonna work. What I'd like to do though is either I'll do it on my own, or if either you or somebody wants to meet me out there, I'd like to take a look at the existing outlet structure just to re-familiarize myself with it, and just, make sure there isn't something that we ought to be. Oh, did I cut out?
No, you're there.
Just to make sure there's not something we should be doing at that structure, but I'm good with what your proposal is.
and then the other thing that we'd like to do tonight, since. Typically you do it the second time, but we'd like to get the EAF approved. Because the state sent Tom a nasty note saying, we want it by the end of the month or we'll take your grant away.
That's nice.
I think the state came up to me, the next time I had some money to receive.
Well, we've done the seeker on the first.
Yeah,
meeting
we've done it
before,
before. And this isn't the first that we've heard of the project, I think, and this is just my opinion, I'll let y'all chime in too, but, it seems like we had a lot of information at the last meeting, there were some things we asked George to do, which was, find the parking spaces that we were kind of trying to target. It seems like that's happened. We did ask to get the, EAF ahead of time to make sure that there weren't anything, any things that we want changed on it. That usually is what we find in that delay stuff meeting, so. We did that too, so. We'll give people, folks time to ask questions, but, unless something comes up in the course of the questions, I would have no problem personally moving forward with the EAF tonight. We would keep typically we close the public hearing before we do part 3, but we would, keep the public hearing open for a second meeting. We can approve the EAF tonight, but we still keep the public hearing open. Oh, no, I guess we do part 3 before we close the public hearing, so then we'll move on. So, yeah.
We should still be able to get a public hearing.
We can still keep it open.
Yeah, just complete the seeker sequence and then
Yeah.
handle the rest of it, because we're still going to need. From what you're describing, I'll probably need some type of lighting plan. If you're gonna change the bulbs, change all that kind of stuff. I might need a lighting plan on that.
If you're adding a pole, we would need a lighting plan for it, right?
Yeah. According to our code, if you change bulbs and whatnot,
I can tell you it'll be dark sky, what they are, I don't know, because we haven't really.
see how many little things it casts out, I guess.
Yeah.
So I'll go over all that, George. And then, of course, whatever we find out from Brent, we'll have to have a decision on that as far as how.
I'll meet with them and look, I know they found some. Brian shot the inverse of what's there. And I think he used the sizes of what was shown, so the pipe coming out of the catch basin along the south property line is a 24-inch concrete pipe, which is pretty good. And then there's a 12 coming out of them. We'll try and verify and see where they come into the retention pond. I know there's a couple, you can see that the roof drains coming off the existing building off the back. There's a 6-inch pipe or something. I remember seeing that dump into it. And we would do the same thing here is our shutter will be along the south edge of the building, so that would go into the catch basin that's there.
And then the other item I'd like to see is some type of construction erosion plan during the site, and that'll have to be approved by Brent, so.
Okay.
It's everything
Someone-
done. If I'm sure it's not gonna be all that much, but we just need something that's gonna be approved by Brent.
Okay. Does that need is to get the site plan approved, or is that part of the building?
It's gonna be part of the building permit, but we'd like to see this while we have Brent here now, because usually when you get to the building permit process, Brent's not usually involved in that, but he is involved in the special permit. If it's something, let's put it this way, if it's something that's gonna hold you up, it can always be put in the resolution as a condition before the building permit is
We get
issued.
additional permit.
Yeah.
For.
Yeah, but yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Is everyone happy with the proposed landscaping?
Good thing Jim's out here.
Well, trees right
I know, right now, favorite thing. Are they all, what kind of trees do you know?
Big like danger.
Suggested hemlocks, because they like it wet.
Right, you did say that, okay.
So it's definitely, it's a bargain on what?
Are there, so I will admit, in the last couple of days, I've driven in the parking lot a few times because you have some really mature trees. You have a lot of trees there already. And when I saw the 12, I was like, oh, wow, that's a huge expense.
Wow.
But I couldn't really quite see behind there, but it looked like, are there trees already behind there though?
There's a huge tree behind.
Just the one or?
Just the one.
Oh, okay. So are the other things that are there, it's kind of like a hedgerow. Are they just like shrubbery? Oh, okay.
Yeah, the only tree along the west parcel is this great big one here.
If you look up at the screen, Lorraine, you can see what it is. So this is what's at
Sorry.
the BJ's end. No, I just put,
Oh,
this is
thank
what
you, yes.
BJ's end of it for brush.
Oh, okay.
And then there is, kind of that one big tree as you move down towards,
Oh, all right.
end of BJ's.
Yeah, there is a lot of it. So you'll,
There's a lot of, there's houses up like here.
can you take, are you gonna take some of that brush out and cut out? Yeah.
And add like a conifer screen is the idea, also like a little bit as a window.
There's also a lot of brush on the right-hand side that you share the property with the Getson property. There's a,
around their detention.
oh, is it? There's a lot of them.
There's a bunch of. here.
Oh, I mean, on the other side of the,
Here.
yeah, along there. That's a line. I didn't know where the property line, how far it went over.
What Mike told me is there's a stream that starts somewhere in here that's also part of the wetland. It's not on our property, but there's, so, that's gonna get you some underbrush.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
If the board's happy with the tree plan, then we need to talk about sidewalks.
Okay. Yeah.
Like I said, I gave you a site plan that shows the pretty much the wise.
Yeah, so currently, there's a sidewalk along the north that runs along this whole parking lot, the street for the bus stop. Then there's a sidewalk all along the front, and we would continue a sidewalk around the building so it connects back. But there is connection to the street where there's a bus stop.
And there's sidewalks all across, all up front of Butler and, West Grand, or Grand West.
You just want to see what that looks like. There you go.
The sidewalk runs all,
There we go.
was this Crawford? So this complete row of frontage has a sidewalk.
So there's all the way along Butler, up to the kind of, I'll say entrance to the second parking lot.
Yeah,
And then here's all the way, right, from the corner all the way down to Target, BJ's, that area down there. That's all in there.
Which is a lot safer than the road.
Yeah. So
The
that,
Chipotle project is gonna extend out to here about.
Yeah.
Give or take.
Yeah. somewhere in that neighborhood.
And then I think the right potential future, when that other piece was developed, we did discuss extending that chunk out further, so
so what about that little piece to the
right
corner?
here.
A little piece to the corner? Yeah, what about right there? So it would be all the way down.
that currently, I believe, is gravel. Cause there's like a runoff off the road on the corner, people park cars in there.
Up there,
Isn't
yeah.
that Eric's building there?
That's for the houses down there, yeah.
Carlos.
Looks to me like it's part of a runoff ditch.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
does kind of look like it.
It'll run right down into the wetlands.
Yeah, it heads straight down in that way, yeah.
Yeah. Know if it'd be advantageous to put one in there.
Yeah.
That's a wide enough shoulder on a slow enough street that you could walk along the edge.
Well, and with the concept, right, of in the future, there
Mhm.
potentially being one that goes across here anyway.
Yeah.
It might be more hassle than it's worth, or,
Yeah. You're probably right.
It's a little stretch.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is really small.
right, if this wasn't here, I would,
Yeah.
yeah, that, I would probably want, to say we add that in, but.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're happy with the
So we don't
sidewalk.
have to waive the sidewalk law. Well, that,
Do you guys have an estimate number of how many people are currently visiting the YMCA every day?
Lions childcare staff, we have about anywhere from 10 to 11,000 like checking in. So it does less parents or, when the bus drops off childcare.
how often is that number? 10 to 11,000 a month? Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Daily.
I know. That's a lot of people every day.
Traffic, amazing.
But they're all there for different reasons at different times,
And do you guys have a sense of how much you're expecting that to increase with the new amenities and?
Honestly, besides programmatically and maybe some new memberships, this is going to serve like the population that we're already serving.
Yeah.
We might be able to, or be able to increase lessons and adaptive programs and things like that, but I don't picture this increasing because it's a service we already offer. It's just increasing the availability. So I'd like to see an increase, but we just don't know.
What Christie was pointing out is they currently do water aerobics with the bottom of the pool slopes.
Yeah.
Whereas when we do the leg pull, we'll have a spot that's flat.
It's wonderful.
So things that are currently happening here will now happen here. The pool will get torn out and it'll become more of a true swimming pool and multi-use.
I mean, a brand new pool will attract some people, which will be excellent.
But you're saying right now, there's a need for.
There is very much a need, so we can, with one pool, it's 6 lanes. There's only so many lessons and programs that you can have at one given time. So we have open lane swimming, we always try to keep 2 lanes open. But when we're doing lessons and whatnot, we have them at the deep end, we have them at the shallow end, we have them in the middle. We can only use a couple of those lanes. And so it really limits how many swim lessons and whatnot we can do. And especially like moving forward, we have like a grant for like $100,000, to teach children 0 to 4 free swimming for like the next 16 months. So none of this is gonna slow down, like how we're serving in those areas.
But the other thing too is they've got a big pool that looks like a competition pool, but you can't dive off starting with.
Yeah.
Because the deep end doesn't extend far enough out. So when that gets redone, that'll be redone, but currently, we show starting blocks on the lap pool at the deep end. And make certain that the deep end goes far enough.
The potential for like a swim team or
Yes,
competitive
we
team.
practice team, they're called the Barracudas.
Yeah.
We often have to rent pool space at another pool so they can practice diving. What I would anticipate is the Barracudas feed into maybe the Steamers in Portland, and so where we can complement each community.
And then the other question I had is, do you have an ongoing relationship with the folks who live next to the parking lot? So in those houses, and have you heard anything from them? Yes.
Yeah, it's in every now and then, but we don't have any like, if you live here, you get this, nothing like that at this point.
And have any of them talked to you about the parking lot or any concerns about it? Okay.
Somebody planned, was pretty certain that Arrowhead Ventures or whatever, when they did this, planted pine trees along the property.
Yeah.
So as those grow, that'll be a screen, so. And the new light. The new thing is don't go too tall. The lights aren't up at 40 feet like they used to be, so now they're gonna be down lower and. The cutoff is a lot better, so you're not, it's not like a car dealership.
Right. And then the final question I had is, I know that the YMCA launched a survey of their, I guess, of the people who go there. Did you get any feedback about the parking lot at the time? Right? Those are my three main questions.
Yeah, I think there's only 2 days a year we ever have problems with parking, and one is our trunk or treat, because it's full and the other one is some weekends, because we just started like, you know, we're just such hot days, those are the only 2 days a year we have issues.
Okay.
Mhm.
Kevin? I don't have any questions. Right?
I'm good.
How's you on that, Mike?
No, I don't think unless, Brent, are you good with everything? Okay, thumbs up, Brent.
Yeah.
So we can move on to, part one of EAF. Everyone should have a copy of it in front of them. Everyone also got a copy of it via email. We'll run down through the questions, and if you have a comment, just stop me. So, does the proposed action only involve the legislative adoption of a planned local law, ordinance, administrative rule, or regulation? No. Does the proposed action require a permit, approval, or funding from any other government agency? Yes. Dormitory Authority of New York State. There's the total acreage there. All land uses that occur on or adjoining or near the proposed action, commercial and residential. Is the proposed action a permitted use under the zoning regulations? Yes. Consistent with the adopted comprehensive plan? Yes. Is the proposed action consistent with the predominant character of the existing built or natural landscape? Yes. Is the site of the proposed action located in or does it adjoin a state-listed critical environmental area? No. Will the proposed action result in substantial increase in traffic above present levels? No. Are public transportation services available at or near the site of the proposed action? Yes. Are any pedestrian accommodations or bicycle routes available on or near the site of the proposed action? Yes. Does the proposed action meet or exceed the state energy code requirements? Yes. Will the proposed action connect to an existing public or private water supply? Yes. Will the proposed action connect to existing wastewater utilities? Yes. Does the project site contain or is substantially contiguous to a building, archaeological site, or district which is listed on the National or State Register of Historic Places, or that has been determined by the Commissioner of the New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation to be eligible for listing on the register? No. Is the project site or any portion of it located in or adjacent to an area designated as sensitive for archaeological sites on the New York State Historic Preservation Office Archaeological Site Inventory? No. Does any portion of the site of the proposed action or lands adjoining the proposed action contain wetlands or other water bodies regulated by a federal, state, or local agency? Yes. Would the proposed action physically alter or encroach into them? No. If yes, so per the DEC map in the southwest corner of the site, that's wetland, approximately 0.39 acres. Identify the typical habitats that occur on or are likely to be found on the project site, wetland. Does the site of the proposed action contain any animal species or associated habitats listed by the state or federal government as threatened or endangered? No. Is the project site located in the 100-year floodplain? No. Will the proposed action create stormwater discharge either from point or non-point sources? Yes. Will stormwater discharges flow into adjacent properties? No. Will stormwater discharges be directed to establish conveyance systems? Yes. If the parking area is extended, and this is what George is mentioning, runoff will have a containment system. Does the proposed action include construction or other activities that would result in the impoundment of water or other liquids? No. Has the site of the proposed action or an adjoining property been a location of an active or closed solid waste management facility? No. Has the site of the proposed action or an adjoining property been the subject of remediation for hazardous waste? No. All good? Okay, so we can move on to part two then. Oh, yeah. So, we should have part two on the next page. So I'll read down through these. If you have any questions or disagreement, stop me. Will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zoning regulations? No. Will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of use of land? No. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community? No. Will the proposed action have an impact on the environmental characteristics that cause the establishment of a critical environmental area? No. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure for mass transit, biking, or walkway? No. Will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy and it fails to incorporate reasonably available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities? No. Will the proposed action impact existing public or private water supplies? No. Public or private wastewater treatment facilities? No. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of an important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources? No. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change to natural resources, e.g. wetlands, water bodies, groundwater, air quality, flora, or fauna? No. Will the proposed action result in an increase in the potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems? No. Will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health? No. Okay, so we'll just move on. Everybody should have a copy of the resolution in front of them. So this is the Village of Lansing Planning Board Resolution for seeker review of special permit number 2026-4949, adopted on May 26, 2026. That's 26. This matter involves consideration of the following proposed action, special permit number 2026-4949, where the YMCA of Ithaca is seeking to build an addition totaling 5,394 square feet to house a new lap pool. This project will also require construction of an additional 20 parking spaces. Project is located at 50 Grand Road West, tax parcel number 47.1-1-17.9. And on May 26, 2026, the Village of Lansing Planning Board, in performing the lead agency function for its independent and uncoordinated environmental review in accordance with Article 8 of the New York State Environmental Conservation Law, the State Environmental Quality Review Act, seeker. One, determined that the proposed action provided for herein is an unlisted action in accordance with seeker. Two, thoroughly reviewed the short environmental assessment form and any and all other documents prepared and submitted with respect to this proposed action and this environmental review. Three, completed its thorough analysis of the potential relevant areas of environmental concern to determine if the proposed action may have a significant adverse impact on the environment, including the criteria identified in 6 NYCRR section 617(7)(c). And four, completed the short EAF. And now therefore be it resolved as follows. We have two options. We can find this to be a negative declaration or a positive declaration. I will entertain a motion that we find this a negative declaration.
Second that motion.
Who was first?
Yeah.
Motion by Soledad.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know.
Motion by Soledad,
Okay, second.
second by Lorraine. All in favor? And then I will, Mike already has it ready. I will sign part 3 of the EAF. Yep. And we will obviously, we will hold the public hearing open since there's more to do, like granting a special permit. But in between now and then, George, yeah, definitely get a hold of Mike. He'll walk you through some of the things we talked about tonight, tree law. Getting a hold of Brent, obviously, to take a look at some of those things for just runoff and things like that. But yeah, keep in touch with Mike and he'll guide you through the next steps.
Christy, what do you need so you can get your funding? Do you need a document?
They need what Mike has to say.
I'll send them both over there. Do you want them sent right direct to George and then you can distribute them however? I'll send them tomorrow morning. So that you have.
You call the bureaucrats all.
Well, and they should give you one extra day because there was a holiday.
Nate rolls it out.
We do appreciate it. Thanks for coming in. And thanks for, all the effort between the last meeting and this one to address the things that we had chatted about. We appreciate it. Yep. And Brent, you're welcome to stick around for the rest of the evening, or if you think there might be something more enjoyable than sticking around, you're welcome to go do that. I
Stay
can't
for a
think of
minute.
anything, but if you can, Brent, I mean, you're welcome to.
I'll stay for a minute, but I'll probably drop off at some point.
Editor.
Okay, appreciate the help, Brad, and
Yeah.
I'll get together with you or something if you wanna.
Yeah.
You know how to contact George, so you can set up.
Yeah. Right.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
Next item on the agenda is to continue the discussion for code changes and corrections. Did anyone take some time between the last meeting and this one to look over some of the definitions that we're looking for and some of the, I think those are kind of the big things in there, really is, I think we've validated, yes, these are the things that we said we wanted to add in places, remove from places, but there were those new ones that we wanted to add that we need to define while we do that. We can't just add uses, obviously, without a definition, or we'll get into the same place we are now where we have uses without a definition. So that'd be nice to avoid. Did anyone have a chance to look at those or have any questions about them?
I looked through them, I read them. I mean, I think it kind of is in alignment with what I'm learning. I like the changes that you suggested at the last meeting or the questions that you had. So I guess I'm just wondering, is it possible to see it with those changes made? The suggestions that we've last meeting?
Yeah, so if there's like a specific, yeah, so I can update the chart to remove, like, some of the things that we said, hey, let's remove this. I can go and I'll update the chart to say, yes, if we're in agreement, there were a couple things in there, so I can go and do that. And then for the new uses, if there is a definition, because right there, for some of them, there was just one definition. But for some of them, there were a couple alternates that Natalie had provided from just kind of different municipalities, this or this. If there's one that you prefer, send an email out to everybody and say, hey, I think this one would be a better fit. And if people want to chime in on that, they're welcome to chime in on that. Any thoughts on that, Kevin, or?
Through them too, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot. I wasn't sure how exactly you're gonna narrow it down. Well,
For the definitions, because they're new, yeah, that's a great, I think we're just gonna kind of have to settle on one. And I think a lot, or like a lot of other things, you know, the first couple times they get put to the test, that'll be a good, no different than the tree law or things like that. It'll be a good chance for us to say, yes, this is the working the way that we need to, or we can tweak it, and that's fine. I think the whole point with, you know, the definitions that make Mike's life a little bit easier when projects are coming in, and right, none of the definitions are, here's 100% everything, you know, everything fits into this category. There's no other, right? There's like, here are some examples. This is not a, you know, exhaustive list of what would fit in there, but enough to say, you know, it's a hospital versus a clinic versus some kind of care. Listen, yeah, I think that's the best way to look at it. So if you're like, oh, these are, you know, these things are so close other than this one word, maybe at that point it's a toss up, or we can talk about it. Yeah. Right?
I'm good. I actually did go back through because I didn't have the handouts in front of me except for the one page, but I didn't have the other documents anyway. I went back through the recording to that whole section and just so I could re-listen to it again and make sure I knew. You put a lot of work into this. Thank you. And I marked up my sheet, you know, the things we talked about to remove and everything, but no, I don't have anything else.
I still have to continue on. I didn't get a chance to continue on some other items. There are a couple things I thought of and jotted down, but I did not bring it up for this. Yeah, I do suggest that we kind of up the ante a little bit on this and because as I said before, I foresee a few special permits coming along. We're gonna be getting into the hot and heavy type summertime here and it's gonna be busy. So we probably ought to try to.
Yeah, so let's look at the agenda for the next meeting, and if we've got time, let's at least start addressing some of the definitions. I'll update the chart and I'll send it out so we don't have to wait between now and then. So you can see what Mike's suggestions look like reflected on the chart. And then if we have time, and even if it's just enough time to tackle, you know, one definition, great, that's one closer to having that kind of complete package that we need to send off to the trustees as a recommendation.
Sounds good.
And if we get more than one done, great.
I mean-
Some of them are a lot easier than others too.
Yeah.
Some of, I think as people look at them, it's kind of easy to see where the bulk of discussion is going to be had about like, well, this, or what do we mean by that? Or can we take that word out? I think that's where the bulk of it's going to happen. Okay. Great. Okay, next item on the agenda is to discuss topics for the June first, sorry, first joint, I was like, June first joint meeting, there you go,
It's not.
which is not June first.
Oh, it's June 15th. That's right.
That's why I was like, for the first,
It's
for
7.
the first June joint meeting, which is on the 15th, and is the only joint, yeah. So at the last meeting, we had talked about, Lorraine had some suggestions about, the comprehensive plan, looking at page 34, the implementation priorities. Also, page 40, the community engagement thing, we had talked about tabling events. We had talked about better ways to get the newsletter out to folks.
And I think that should come under community engagement, and we can talk about that, because I even have even more ideas since then. And I'll just save it all for that night.
Brent had offered up just talking about kind of the near and long-term thought for development and sewer units in the village. Obviously, there's there's some things that have been approved that haven't started yet. There are some things that we keep hearing about that development wants to happen. So just kind of bringing that up with the trustees and getting a feeling for where are we with them, and does that change, the way, do we have to be more thoughtful about projects as they're being approved and things like that because of restrictions or things like that. I had mentioned just a quick update on the code stuff, also the commercial advisory committee update, and there are some updates on that already, so that's good.
Are there, because your first meeting's not until the 18th.
Yes, yeah, but the people who are invited know, but the meeting's been set and we've been chatting a little bit online, so.
Oh, really?
Through email, rather.
Oh,
There's
does Lisa know this?
I don't know. She got all the emails, she's on them, I saw too. There's not like a ton of progress on it other than, there's no.
I was just talking about it yesterday, and okay, never mind.
And then just a planning federation update, Lorraine and I, so were there other thoughts that people had that they wanted to add in there? We'll do the same thing we do every time, right? There'll be time to go around if anything pops up, so.
You're planning 2 hours for the meeting.
Can talk fast.
They have a lengthy list as well.
Oh, do they really?
Some overlap though.
Right.
Yeah.
So Soledad, I'm hoping that you'll tag team with me on the community engagement.
That was one of the topics there.
Yeah, they have ideas.
I mean, there's just so many things. I've been making notes and just things, and I've been checking what other villages are doing and this kind of thing, because it's just really important for us to somehow communicate with our community.
Mhm.
That's not been happening for a long time, and people just don't know what's going on, and you can't get people interested if they don't know what's going on. I mean, just like, and I don't know if I can even mention this, but the community party, I didn't even know that existed, and I've lived in the village since 2006. And the only reason I even knew what it was is because Susan Ainsley told me about it 2 years ago, or I would have not known.
Do I get points?
Yes, you get a point for that.
Thank you, Lorraine.
But that's just a perfect example. How can you get people involved when they don't know what's out there?
Well, if you do think of other things, send them my way. I'll send, Ronnie and I did chat a little bit, but I'll send along formal email.
One thing I wanted to suggest is that everybody brings a copy of their comp plan to the joint meeting. And if you don't have a copy and you want a hard copy, I like the online copy, but I've found that I like the hard copy better because I can go on sticky notes and stuff. But Jody would be happy, to volunteer her, but she would be happy to make a colored copy for anybody that needs one. And if we could relay that to the board, Susan, can you relay that to the Board of Trustees to make sure that for our joint meeting, everybody have a copy of their comp plan with them?
Comp plan. Are you requiring a hard copy?
Well, whatever makes each person feel more comfortable, but I think everybody should have a copy of it in front of them when we meet that night, especially since we're talking about things that are in the comp plan.
Okay.
I mean, if our items get approved, specifically the the implementation priorities, we're going to need a copy to.
Yeah, where we at, yeah.
Anyway, if you could relay that, thank you.
You're welcome, Lorraine.
Okay, any other thoughts on that? Okay. Next item on the agenda is the trustee report. So
Yeah, that was me. So I attended. Let's see, they opened up for the public comment. There were no, I was the only one there for that. They approved the minutes. They talked about the rezoning, which was approved for 720 to 730 Warren Road from high density residential to business and technology district. So that was approved. The county review found no significant impact and it passed unanimously. So that's good news. So that's great. They talked about the annual authorization for the treasurer to collect taxes, which is about, I think, 1.28 million in taxes. So that was, I guess, approved at that meeting. There was, I guess, one large business account that has a higher delinquent water sewer. They're talking about what to do about that. They didn't reveal which company it was, but I guess it's of concern. I guess I don't know. I didn't fully understand what they're going to do. I think they're going to
Larger than usual sewer re-levy because of the one late.
Okay.
Mhm.
Great. I didn't fully understand, but there's an abandoned proposed sewer easement on Bolton Estates lot 2. So I don't know. You guys are probably much more familiar. It sounded like there was like some history there. But I guess there is no expected future need for sewer connection in that area. So it's kind of like.
It's just one lot in the Bolton State subdivision, which the village had a proposed sewer easement on, and John has indicated the village has no anticipated need for that easement, so the landowner had requested that we formally abandon that.
I see. Okay, that makes sense. So the joint meeting is June 15th at 7:30, and they discuss the topics that they want to review. One is community outreach, and they're talking about events, social media engagement. The Greenway and Parks update, they gave an update about that. They talked about the sustainability and energy systems, including battery storage as a topic for the joint. So I don't know if we have anything we want to add around that. They talked about like some vacancies and maintenance issues around some housing. That might be another topic they want to discuss, but I guess they're putting their topics together. So I'm kind of sharing this before they have fully decided that. And then a big chunk of the meeting was to talk about the deputy clerk treasurer hire, the position, like when to post it. And there's some interesting things. So I guess there's a county template that we are going to use for the job posting that we can just kind of like use the same thing. And that makes the whole process a lot quicker. It's going to be an exempt position. So they talked about that quite a bit about what it means to be exempt, which is actually, I think, different than what it means to be exempt at Cornell. Yeah, right. Exempt is what we're used to. So, which allows for a lot of hiring flexibility, but I guess it's just it's a big level of responsibility because of the finances. And because of that, it's going to be exempt, which also means we can hire provisionally before we get state approval because it's exempt. They're going to post the job, I understood, because there's a little bit of back and forth with this, but in early July, and they want to keep the application to receive applications for 2 weeks, I think is what they decided on.
Which I think is so unrealistic. I mean, I think that job should
Always extend.
Yeah, I mean, a good month and then have a deadline date on it. I mean,
Yeah.
yes, the way things are nowadays, it just takes a long time and it's really hard to find the right,
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm hoping to interview in August for a target start of late summer, early fall. They talked a lot about how important it is that the person in this role is trustworthy, that they have financial expertise, clerical expertise. There is some expectation of on-the-job training that they're hoping to do, like co-training together. And they also talked quite a bit about updating the website and the need for website updating. And if we do that, it's kind of like a different position. And should that person be responsible for website updating, or should it be someone else? Or like a need for IT, like an IT support person. So it was kind of a long conversation. It was interesting to hear because there are a lot of different perspectives. They talked a little bit about some of the different councils that they're part of, that they have representation at. So I guess there's a Water Resource Council, the Environmental Management Council. They also talked a bit about the climate smart communities. I guess there's a presentation on June 25th but it was kind of unclear if we're gonna go, if we're not gonna go, what it's gonna be about. I don't know if you, yeah, that one was kind of up there, but I guess it's, yeah. So I guess there was kind of the expectation we might present, by we, I mean the village, but then it was unclear on what we would be responsible for presenting. So I think we're like hitting pause on presenting for that. They talked a little bit about the Greenway Committee. I guess that Cornell Design Studio project sounds really exciting. It's really cool, and so they talked about that for a little bit. One of the things that I kind of got from Carolyn is that it's going to be more like an idea, and then the implementation of it is kind of up to us to figure out, I guess, is how I understood. And they talked about the school board election, which already passed, I guess, right? Yeah. And heat alerts, how we're gonna give heat alerts when things get hot, like if there, we have a plan for that, for communicating, I guess, to civilians that's hot. Yeah, and that's it. And I guess there's a county budget forum that was scheduled with a public Q&A opportunity. Okay, yeah, so it's a long one.
Okay, next item on the agenda is other business. Lorraine, I know you've got one item.
I don't.
Demo.
Right at the corner.
Oh, well, the demos, yeah.
People might not have seen it.
All right, the demo is happening. The Chinese restaurant is being torn down. Yes.
Hey.
By 8 o'clock this morning. I didn't see it until 9:30, so I was slacking.
Close enough.
But I contacted my
Yeah,
two peeps to let them know.
it must have been today when I saw people out there, so yeah.
Started today?
Yeah.
Okay, I took by.
I drove by a couple times. I saw Mike Scott on his way over there.
It was a warm day too, would have been a great day to sit out there in the lawn chair with an
Couple beer.
ice cold cup of water.
Yeah.
Yes. Anything else? Okay. Slaughter?
I had one question. I noticed, the exit from Cayuga Heights Road, or when you're coming from 13 and heading into Cayuga Heights Road, there's a railing, a metal railing. And someone brought it to my attention that a lot of that railing has been, I think, crashed into. I don't know if it's recent. And I don't know if that's something that, is that like road?
Yep.
Or is it, yeah, it's not even,
Stay.
yeah, it's a state all the way.
But we can.
Wait, where again?
So when you're coming off 13, like going onto Cayuga Heights, like the Village of Lansing side of Cayuga Heights, there's a railing a lot of people walk over there.
Oh.
And so there's just parts of it that are broken.
Oh, well, the state has been working on all those corners.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually,
It is.
Yeah.
Today, I saw like a bunch of them standing right there, on the other side of the guardrail, like on grass. So I don't know if they were digging up something over there, or I don't know. Do you know what they're doing? They've been working.
Some sidewalk.
The traffic last week was really bad a couple days. I mean, they were.
Yeah, it's funny. I didn't know anything about it. And I pulled up and I was like, oh, glad I'm not. And I luckily I was going to get my son. So I was like up through the plaza parking lot, up past the swim club to get him. And then just, down Warren. I was like, oh, yeah, it's bad. I thought it was an accident or something. No.
Yeah, no, it was kind of a mess. Yeah.
John Courtney had said that, they're state worker, they're obviously stakes is a state road. He had mentioned something about, they're adjusting the lights, they no longer will trigger, for impact in the roads, or basically I don't know, they're more of an AI type situation where they can detect cars, they're certain ways away and it delays the light, and they detect how fast it's coming, so it delays the light a little bit. So they're putting in new lighting system or whatnot. So you have to talk to John Courtney. That's something way over my head.
And the only other thing I would have mentioned, I was listening to an NPR story about data centers and the impact of data centers. And I guess this big, huge project out in Idaho that's like 60,000 files. I don't know. It sounds tremendously enormous. So I don't know if you guys want to listen to it, or if I know we've talked about data centers and what our plan might be. And I guess there's some legislation that's trying to be passed to like pause all data centers for 3 years. But I don't know if that's anything we have to come up with or discuss.
And the village can always do their own moratorium, should we get an application and feel unprepared. We could also include in our code update, moratorium language that we're just not allowing them currently. or we could do a specific local law now to just not allow them currently. But if an application comes to us, the village can still do a moratorium, even though an application has been made. It's just if you approve an application and a special permit and then shovels go in the ground, you can't stop that at that point. They have a vested
Yeah,
interest.
so we have some breathing room if one were to be proposed in the village,
Okay, yeah.
especially since we are working on, we know that we need to define it and see if it even is something that,
Well,
Fits
Mike,
in.
Scott, and I have talked that there's probably limited,
yeah.
if no availability
Yeah.
space-wise in the village for it,
That's good.
as currently constructed, but these things get
The
modified.
world's tiniest data center.
Wasn't it, is it out in Idaho where the girls started recording on TikTok about they were coming and buying up people's houses?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and then in residential areas. Yeah, it turned into a big news story and
Mhm.
saw that the other day, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to send it up, send, you know, if you've got, send it up.
Yep.
Kevin?
Trustee meeting schedule for us.
Oh.
Send that, I had one from a while ago, but I don't hold names on it.
You're for June
I know, which is great. I just realized I was for June at one of the meetings, so I'm like,
and for July.
can send it out again though.
Kevin, you're August.
I thought, I have the one from, but there's old names.
Well, Dave, you're October.
Okay.
The thing I got is, because since I've been working from home and staring out my window, there's these dump trucks that are flying down our road. I'm guessing they're Belisario because they're dumping behind the.
They are, because I've been walking when they've gone blowing by and I was like,
And there's now a bus that stops right in front of our house on Graham and drops two little boys. And they run up the road. I don't know where they're going, if they're trying to get across that crosswalk, but those dump trucks will never stop in time. And it's getting ridiculous. It's not just them, everybody speeds, but these guys are flying in them big heavy trucks that they're never gonna stop.
I was on Graham Road one morning, just like last week, and they went blowing by me up your way. And I was like, holy crap.
If Ronnie can send a note to.
Dallas area.
Oh, wow. I'll send out.
And are they still, weren't they like doing work for the village? Aren't they the preferred?
They weren't hauling, well, they were hauling some, they got stormwater pond, on the south side of, Cuba Heights Road. The village was actually hauling a lot of that out. Belisario has a couple of projects here in the village, but they might have hauled some out of there, but I don't know any other project, why they'd be coming up down through there.
Yeah, no. And it was like last week, I think it was on one of the mornings I saw.
Not every day, but it's like, there was one, I think yesterday morning, they're loud too, and they blow right past my house.
I'll ask John about it.
Yeah, I wondered how they were gonna make, I'm like, when they went blowing by me, I was like, are they gonna make that curve? Like,
End up in that duplex.
Green Scene also.
Oh, yeah, that,
Yeah, because Green Scene mows at the Meadows.
yeah,
Because they do our property too, and they went blowing by a couple times too, yeah.
yeah, we see them flying all the time. And the sign's nice, it says, too fast.
Yeah,
And it doesn't, it doesn't do it fast enough for us to see how fast we're actually going. So like a crosswalk sign would be nice.
Yeah.
We need to wake somebody up, to slow down right
to
there.
say that on June 15th.
Broken record as I am.
If you don't say anything, I'm gonna remind you on June 15th. You're on Dark Drive?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's right on the curve.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Those apartments look great. They paved all the parking lots. They got lit numbers on the door.
yeah, it does look nice.
Did they relocate people or price them out? Because there's hardly any cars over there.
Well, I think that one building is kind of almost empty. But when I saw him a couple weeks ago, when he was saying how amazing Mike Scott was, he was having a problem with 7 tenants. And he was asking me for advice, and I'm like, this is like out of I have no idea, but he was saying that he wished he had all the history. And I suggested to him, maybe he get letters from his neighbors saying how happy they were that he's bought the property and all the issues that they've had to deal with over the years. I said, the issues have been going on here ever since I've been in the village since 2006, because I lived at the Meadows for 13 years. So there were always problems there, but Yeah, he was having a problem with the town of Land, the judge, I think. And I said, well, you need to get a good lawyer. That's what I told him.
It was Judge Grossman, I can't help you.
I was gonna say.
Oh, well, I didn't, yeah, I know.
Anything else? Natalie?
Was there ever a formal recommendation made to appoint the alternate?
Ron, with vacation and everything, they're gonna discuss it when they come back. I gotta know back from Ron.
Very good.
Yep.
That was my only question.
Mike, what you got?
Well, next meeting, you'll obviously have George back with the YMCA trying to finalize that. You also have Kaylee Firth for the best presentation, battery storage presentation. She is unable to bring one of her engineers, but if there is a question that she can't answer, she will take it back to the engineers and she will make sure she gets us that question or gets us that answer we're looking for. But like I said, when Ronnie, myself, we interviewed her, she knew exactly the questions that we were gonna ask.
If anybody wants a primer on Best Systems before she shows up next week, next meeting, there you go.
Yeah,
You can take it, don't worry.
saw the webinar. There is a webinar that I can pass around if you guys want to look at it. It's very informational.
Well, there's the one that I attended that was 2 hours on the
Yeah.
New York Planning Federation. It's probably on their website.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
It's not at the conference. This was
Yeah.
separate, yeah.
So you might want to look through one of those presentations. If you got questions, it might be that bad, Haley.
Yeah. And then you sent us, which I haven't looked at, but a while back after I had attended that 2 hour one, I had sent that to everybody too, I think. Did I? I can always resend it, the presentation, the PowerPoint.
And the other item on next agenda, popular one, dairy one will be in for the ice cream.
Are they bringing
After
samples?
that.
Samples, or is that against the gift shop?
Oh.
If it's under 50
Under
bucks, we're
50
good.
bucks, I mean.
Keep your cool. Look too excited.
You can ask them to bring samples.
The Bomax project that had come here in front of us, Laura Smith had brought the presentation to us, came to the Board of Zoning Appeals. We're asking for the variance for density for 110 units, and they would only allow 26 units, 300% increase. It didn't, the BZA, I think, did a pretty good job as far as inquiring and asking questions and it didn't look, I think the feel might have been, they didn't think they were going to be getting that. They thought they were going to be denied. So they had proposed an alternate solution, which I will have Natalie explain. She is more legal than.
So what they're proposing is the same exact plan, no change in density, no change in layout. But they do own the adjacent parcel next door, which currently has 20 Bomax on it, right?
Yep.
So they have no current or future plans to develop that for residential purposes. So their proposition was to transfer the residential development rights from that parcel to the parcel that would have the studio apartments on it, which would then increase their allowable density to like 83 units or something like that. That would mean that the parcel with Bomax on it could not have any residential dwellings on it. Even a one family would not be permitted to be there. So it would stay commercial or industrial. And it would, allow a higher density, though they would still be over by right, but by a lesser percentage. So the BZA did not say that this would necessarily change their mind, but they were interested in hearing more about it. So they'll be presented at the next meeting and we'll see what they decide.
Yeah, look at information, and if they do decide to go that route, it would be a 36% increase in density, which is less obviously than 300, but it's still a large increase. So it's going to all hinge on whether they will allow that. If they do allow that, then you probably be coming back with a special permit back to you with that BZA approval. It doesn't necessarily mean that the project go forward. It still has to make all of your general conditions. But it is completely up to the BZA at this point. They don't have, correct me if I'm wrong, they can't get overridden by anyone? Not even the board of
If-
trustees?
No, so if they decline the variance, the applicant can file an Article 78 challenging it. But the review would be on whether or not the decision was arbitrary or capricious by the BZA, not necessarily if the reviewing court would have granted the variance. Just that the BZA has to act reasonably and with like reasonable basis for the decision.
Has his hand raised.
And
Brent has-
Natalie's been very good as far as keeping the BCA on track, not getting off topic so that they're focused on the questions that on how they determine whether it's to grant it or not. Brent Cross.
Yeah, maybe you just said it, Mike, but what's the upshot of how many sewer units that would be needed?
We know that they have 110 rental units. But then you have the
Mixed-use commercial space.
the commercial aspect of it, which is probably gonna eat up a few more units depending on what retail or whatever store goes in there.
Yeah, I think that would be kind of important, not to so much as to prohibit it, but frame it such that everybody knows if they get something, if they, on one hand, they get a variance that the number of, a variance for the residential, that somehow later on, there isn't some kind of a commercial operation that would be a high water user that would end up kind of double dipping, so to speak. So, I don't know if it's reasonable, if it gets to that point, to understand or put a condition on, or to have some kind of knowledge of what the potential water consumption is for the commercial space.
That's a good point. And I think that even though it is classified as commercial space, I believe anything that gets put into that would actually have to come back for a special permit, because it would be a new use. Most of the uses that are in being business and tech are connected to a special permit. So we may have a second option to see, what comes in there, how much water consumption is gonna take and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I have raised with them, Brent, the issue of sewer units, and they claimed to have spoken to the Village of Cuba Heights about it.
Well, way back when
Yeah.
they had talked to me about when it was the big 500 unit project, and I gave them an indication that we don't give out units to individual projects. So therefore, if the Village of Lansing wanted to basically tie up every single sewer unit that they could have for the very near future, then that would be the Village of Lansing's, decision. But that I didn't think that's probably how the Lansing trustees would want to see that go. So hence where we are now is they've kind of got the message. I didn't deliver that message to them. I only gave them kind of the realm of how that would happen. And so I think that the Lansing trustees probably took that into consideration when they were, contemplating the previous version of their proposal. So I think it's good that it's evolved how it has. But I want to use this as a little bit of a tickler reminder that, I don't know who will pick up this conversation, but as the joint meeting is, coming up on the horizon, to maybe get an item on that agenda to talk about sewer units and, what other.
We've got it. You
projects.
mentioned that at a previous meeting, Brent, so I'm glad we've got that on there to make sure we bring up. Yep.
Excellent. Yep. Great. Thank you.
That law, or whatever it is, to transfer
Development.
really like
It would
that.
be a-
Is it something that's automatic or is it
Be a
like?
recorded restriction on that deed's parcel. So if anyone were to buy it, they would be on notice that they couldn't put any residential in perpetuity. It would run with the land unless the ZBA eventually, an application came for them to waive it or
Right.
modify that in some way. But it would be until modified by the BZA. It has been used in other villages, like the village and town of Ulysses did it recently for a cars project that needed additional density, so they did assignment of development rights.
I don't know how I feel about that. That seems like that's one of those things like. Well, I don't want to delete any.
Made clear to the board, the zoning board, was that to the extent they had concerns beyond the number, this would not address that.
Right.
It does not change the layout, it does not
Right.
change how much parking there is, it does not change the clear cutting, various
Right.
other concerns were raised.
Okay, but I guess that's my point, like say that. So like if the concern, if the concern of the planning board was, well, and that's what we said, like, wow, that's a
Mhm.
big jump in numbers. You have to go get a variance, but now there's this potential conveyance of things where they can be like, oh, well, no, we can just, now it's only a 10% increase because that just, but that doesn't change the fact that. Well, that's
Well, I
why
think it
there's
also
BZA.
reflects like the segmentation concern that now they wouldn't be putting a similar sized multi-res project right next door because they've assigned those development rights away. So that was part of the rationale.
So I was at the meeting and when they start talking about this transfer, it reminded me that the property is for sale. And so I mentioned that. And they were all shocked because they didn't know anything about it. And so after the meeting, they were outside and the gentleman from Fagan, I can't remember his name, he came over and was chatting with us afterwards. And he said, we found it online because none of them knew about it, not even the attorney. So I don't know how does that affect the,
Go with the land, so.
They're still the owners, they can, right, they can.
It would just have to, we would really want to make sure that's completed before any sale goes through, so
Yeah.
that potential buyers are aware that they cannot build any
Right, yeah.
multi-res or any res.
Anything else, Mike?
So, yeah, so you'll have a pretty packed June 8th meeting. And kind of what I was getting at was probably won't have a whole lot of time for the code stuff on that. But you do have one of those times where we have 3 weeks of the last meeting of that month. So I would like to see us at least come up with something pretty darn close to a draft of what we want this to look like by the end of the month. It gives us that extra 3 weeks between the 8th and the 30th to try to nail this down. And because we have to move on to some other things. We've got, not that I want to push this aside, but we've got other things in zoning that we have to take a look at. We've got a battery storage system law that we could probably take a look at. So we just keep moving, that's all.
Yeah, and we can chat about definitions and stuff over email too, so it's.
maybe if that second meeting in June, if we could just like, well, depending on what else is on the agenda, but make sure we dedicate maybe an hour to just pounding it out, while we're here and we'll just work on it.
So that's all I got.
You're cracking the whip.
Okay.
Have you guys thought to use AI on that, with that project at all?
Which one?
With the definitions and the,
Yeah. Yes, but I think after the fact, once we've, right, it's not gonna. It'll say, hey, there's no definition for this. I'm aware there's no definition for that. But to come up with definitions.
or to like find like indices of similar definitions?
So that we can do after the fact, but, yeah, but we need to finish the work that we've started. And get stuff in there, and then if we wanted to, we could use AI to look for discrepancies
Yeah,
or,
with us.
yeah.
With
Yeah.
us.
But we can have it look for discrepancies or things after the fact. Yeah. Okay, if there's nothing.
So the only other thing is, Brent, if you could, I wouldn't mind you being at the next meeting. If you can, one, you might be able to, inject some questions as far as stormwater wise for a BESS system, find out some information on that. And of course, we'll have Dairy One, and then you'll be able to tell us what happens with, the Y and what happens with George. So if you wouldn't mind attending, I'd appreciate it.
Sure, I can do that.
Great. Okay, if there's nothing else, I will entertain a motion to adjourn at 8:14 PM. Motion by Kevin. Second by Soledad, all in favor? Thanks, everybody. See you later, Brent. See you, Susan.
Okay, good night.
I